I have to be honest with you. When I saw the stack of research you prepared for today, I checked the calendar. I thought, is this a joke?
Yeah, I figured you might.
Because we're usually talking about, geopolitical shifts or the future of artificial intelligence or macroeconomics. And today, you want to talk about pictures of cats.
It's not just pictures of
Yeah.
cats, but I get the hesitation.
It's
It feels trivial, right?
You got it.
You're sitting there, maybe on the bus or on your couch. You're just scrolling through your feed. You stop your thumb on an image. It is a completely distorted, low-resolution picture of a cartoon character. Maybe it's Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Maybe it's SpongeBob, and the caption is just a single letter.
Right. Or a sentence that makes no grammatical sense whatsoever.
A nonsensical phrase that barely holds together.
And yet I laugh. That's the worst part. I
Yeah.
look at it and I laugh.
You laugh, and not just a polite chuckle, but a genuine confused laugh. And then you share it. And 10 minutes later, your friend shares it back. But here is the question that keeps me up at night, and the reason we are doing this today. Why is that funny? And more importantly, how on earth did we get from a simple joke to a force that literally moves stock markets and influences presidential elections?
See, that's the part I struggle with. Brain rot. That's the term my nephew uses. Digital junk food. It feels so ephemeral.
It feels that way. But if you look at the research, what we're actually dealing with is a highly sophisticated evolutionary unit of culture. Our mission today is to stop looking at memes as funny pictures and start looking at them the way a biologist looks at a virus.
A virus.
Or the way a linguist looks at a new dialect. Because whether you realize it or not, memes have become a complex language, a massive marketing tool, a political weapon, and yes, a subject of very serious academic study.
So we're treating this with the same seriousness we'd treat a deep dive on nuclear energy.
We have to. We have a massive stack of sources here. We're looking at everything from evolutionary biology, actual biology, to sociology, economics, and the history of the internet itself. We're going to trace the line from Richard Dawkins in the 1970s, all the way to the skibidi toilet phenomenon and the great meme reset of 2026.
All right. I'm skeptical, but I'm listening. If we're going to treat this academically, we probably shouldn't start with SpongeBob. Where does the actual science begin?
If we want to understand the DNA of a meme, we have to go back way before the World Wide Web. We need to go to 1976. Richard Dawkins published a book called The Selfish Gene.
Okay, classic evolutionary biology. I've read it. Survival of the fittest. But Dawkins deals with actual genes, DNA, proteins, physical traits. What does he have to do with internet culture?
Well, Dawkins was trying to solve a problem. He knew how biological traits spread, blue eyes, tallness through genes, but he needed a word, a concept, to explain how cultural information spreads.
Cultural information, like stories or songs.
Exactly. How does a melody move from one person to another? How does the skill of building an arch survive for centuries? How do catchphrases travel across the playground? He needed a unit of cultural transmission.
So he was looking for the cultural equivalent of a gene.
Precisely. And he came up with the term meme. He shortened the Greek word mumeme, which means that which is imitated.
And it rhymes with gene. That's clever.
It is. And in his original theory, a meme behaves exactly like a gene. It wants to replicate. If a song is catchy, it survives in your brain. You hum it, someone else hears it, it infects them.
And if it's a terrible song...
If a song is boring or an idea is too complex to remember, it dies out. It is pure natural selection for ideas.
But here's where I get stuck. In nature, evolution is random, right? A giraffe doesn't decide to have a longer neck. It just happens over millions of years of random mutation. There's no intent.
That is the crucial point. You've hit the nail on the head. In biology, mutation is blind. But, and this is a massive distinction for our deep dive, Dawkins eventually had to address the internet version of his creation.
What did he think of it?
He pointed out that the internet meme breaks his model. He actually calls it a hijacking of the original idea.
A hijacking? That sounds aggressive.
It fits, though, because with internet memes, the mutation isn't random. It involves deliberate human creativity. When you see a meme and you decide to change the caption or Photoshop a hat onto the cat, you are intelligently designing that mutation. You are the selector.
I see. So the difference is intent. A gene changes by accident. A meme changes because I think it would be funnier if the cat was wearing sunglasses.
Exactly. And that shift from random selection to intentional selection is what makes internet memes spread so terrifyingly fast. Lamore Schiffman, who is a key researcher in this field, argues that internet memes are unique because they leave a traceable digital footprint.
What do you mean by that?
You can actually see the mutation happening in real time on a message board or a social feed. You can watch the evolution from one version to the next, hour by hour. With a traditional meme, like a folktale, that process takes generations and is impossible to track.
So if we're going to be formal about it, how do we actually define an internet meme? Because funny picture feels way too broad.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. The working definition we find in the literature is a cultural item, so an idea, a behavior, or a style, that spreads via the internet, primarily through social media.
Okay.
But there are key differences from traditional memes. Internet memes are often less abstract. They are visual, specific, and crucially, they can be much more fleeting. A traditional meme might be shaking hands to say hello, which lasts centuries. An internet meme might be a specific dance on TikTok that lasts 3 weeks.
Or 3 days, if we're being honest.
Or 3 hours. Sure. But for a meme to succeed, even for 3 hours, it needs what researchers Nobel and Lancashire call the secret sauce. They analyzed successful memes and found 3 ingredients that map back to Dawkins, but with a digital twist.
Okay, let's unpack the secret sauce. What is ingredient number 1?
Number 1 is fidelity, or replicability. Now, in the old days, fidelity meant copying something perfectly. Like if you tell a joke, you want to tell it exactly how you heard it.
Right. High fidelity means accuracy, no changes.
But on the internet, fidelity means something else. It means remixability.
Wait, isn't that the opposite? If I remix it, I'm changing it. I'm lowering the fidelity.
You're changing the context, but you're maintaining the core message or structure. This is the hardest part to get your head around, but it's the most important. Think of the distracted boyfriend meme. You know the one?
Oh, of course. The stock photo. Guy walking with his girlfriend, looks back at another woman. His girlfriend looks disgusted. It's everywhere.
Right. Now, in that meme, the fidelity isn't the specific people in the photo. The fidelity is the structure of the relationships. The structure is me, the thing I should be doing, and the attractive distraction. As long as you keep that emotional triangle intact, you can swap the characters for anything. You can make the boyfriend the Roman Empire, the girlfriend building a stable society, and the other woman lead pipes.
I get it. So the meme is the container. It's like a cookie cutter. The dough changes, the topic changes, but the shape remains the same. The template is the high fidelity part.
That is the perfect analogy. If the cookie cutter is strong and easy to use, the meme has high fidelity. If the structure is too confusing, nobody can remix it and it dies.
Okay, that makes sense. What's ingredient number 2?
Fecundity, which is just a fancy academic word for spread or fertility. How fast can it move? This is driven by humor, of course. Think of a really old classic one like, all your base belong to us.
Oh, wow. That's a throwback. From the video game Zero Wing, right. The bad translation.
Exactly. It's funny because of the broken English. The sheer weirdness of the phrase made people want to share it. But spread is also driven by what they call juxtaposition. There was a famous early meme called Bert is Evil.
I remember that. It was Bert from Sesame Street, the innocent puppet, photoshopped into historical tragedies, like at the JFK assassination.
Exactly. Placing an innocent character next to, say, a dictator or a disaster creates a jarring juxtaposition that makes people want to share it. It triggers that, I can't believe I'm seeing this reaction.
It's the shock value.
It's pure shock value. And the third ingredient is longevity.
Longevity seems like the hardest one to achieve these days. Things burn out so fast.
It is. We're going to talk a lot more about longevity later because the lifespan of memes is compressing dramatically. But before we get there, I want to touch on 2 terms I saw in the research that define how we make these things. Mimicry and remix.
Are those not the same thing? They sound very similar.
Not quite. They're related but distinct. Mimicry is recreating a setting physically in the real world. Do you remember Charlie Bit My Finger?
Oh, absolutely. The British baby biting his brother's finger. Ouch, Charlie. Ouch, that really hurt. It was one of the first truly huge YouTube videos.
Right. Mimicry is when you film yourself and your friend acting that out. You aren't changing the original media, you are reenacting the event in the real world. The Harlem Shake was all mimicry. Everyone did their own version of the dance in their own office or dorm room.
Okay, so mimicry is performance-based, and remix?
Remix involves technological manipulation. This is where Photoshop and video editing software come in. You take the original image, the original artifact, and physically alter the pixels to add a hat, or change the background, or add text. You are modifying the source material itself.
And that leads to this concept of intertextuality, which sounds incredibly academic for something so silly.
It does, doesn't it? But intertextuality is just the blending of different contexts to create new meaning. It's when a meme references another meme or a movie or a political event. The research highlights a perfect example from 2012. Remember Mitt Romney's "binders full of women" comment?
Vaguely, yes. It was from the presidential debates. It was a weird phrase that stuck out.
A very weird phrase. And do you remember "Gangnam Style" by Psy?
Unfortunately, yes. I can still do the dance. I think we all can.
Well, the internet combined them. Someone created an image of Mitt Romney doing the Gangnam Style horse dance with the caption, "My binders full of women exploded." That is pure intertextuality.
Right, because you cannot understand the joke unless you know both the U.S. political landscape of 2012 and the K-pop charts of 2012. You have to have both pieces of information.
Exactly. It's like a Venn diagram. If you aren't in the overlapping section, it just looks like nonsense. This is how memes build community. They're in-jokes. If you get it, you belong to the tribe, you feel smart, but if you don't get it, it's just noise.
Which is a perfect transition to the history of this stuff, because if you weren't there for the paleo meme era, you might not realize how different the vibe was. We're talking pre-2005. The internet was a smaller, weirder, and much, much slower place.
We call this the pre-academic phase because nobody was studying it yet. It was still seen as a niche hobby. This was the mid to late 90s. The distribution wasn't Facebook or Twitter or TikTok. It was message boards, Usenet groups, and email chains.
Forwarding emails. FWD, FWD, FWD. Check this out. You'd get it from your aunt 3 weeks after it started.
Exactly. And because the transmission was slower, email to email, person to person, these early memes lasted a long, long time. The dancing baby is the classic example.
Oh, the creepy 3D baby.
It was just a 3D render of a baby cha-cha dancing. It's one of the first things to go truly viral online. It even appeared on the TV show Ally McBeal. It was everywhere for years.
I think my dad had that as a screensaver. It was hypnotic.
And we can't forget the hamster dance. Rows and rows of animated GIFs of hamsters dancing to a sped-up Roger Miller song.
That song is stuck in my head right now, just from you saying that.
Lars, sorry about that. But the research mentioned something even earlier, the grandfather of all visual internet language, the emoticon.
The smiley face. The simple colon dash parenthesis.
We have to give credit to Scott Fahlman. In 1982, think about that, 1982, he was on a university message board at Carnegie Mellon, and people were arguing because they couldn't tell when someone was joking in text. There was no tone.
A problem we still have today.
A huge problem. He suggested using a colon, a dash, and a parenthesis to mark a joke. That sequence of characters changed how we interpret text tone forever. It was the first digital representation of emotion.
So that's the paleo era. Slow, long-lasting, spread by email. Then we hit the mid-2000s and things start to accelerate. The image macro, boom.
This is what most people think of when they hear the word meme. Visually, it's very specific. The impact font. Big, bold, white text with a black outline. Top text setup, bottom text punchline.
The classic format.
This era was defined by the rise of 4chan. This is where we got lolcats.
ICANN has cheeseburger.
Precisely. That was the phrase that launched 1,000 ships. Lolcats were the prototype. You take a picture of a cat, you add broken lol speak, deliberately bad grammar, and you have a format that is infinitely replicable.
And from there, we got things like the demotivators.
Yes, those black-bordered parodies of motivational posters. You'd have a beautiful picture of a mountain with a caption like, "Mediocrity. It takes a lot less effort."
And rage comics, which were those crudely drawn stick figures' faces, like Trollface or Forever Alone.
Those were everywhere. They were ugly, though.
They're so ugly. Just black and white, made in MS Paint.
They were. But the ugliness was part of the charm. It was democratic. It meant anyone could make one. You didn't need Photoshop skills. It lowered the barrier to entry for creation.
And at the same time, YouTube was starting to blow up too, right? That started in 2005.
So video becomes a huge part of the equation. You get rickrolling, which is a classic bait and switch. You click a link expecting a movie trailer, and you get Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
Still happens today, a timeless classic.
And you get the Harlem Shake, which was a massive participatory trend. But then, something shifted. Around 2014, things got weird. We entered what the sources call the modern era, and we have to talk about dank memes.
Dank! I remember when that word just meant a wet basement.
Or, high-quality marijuana.
Yeah.
But in meme culture, it evolved to mean zany, odd, or oversaturated. It refers to memes that are so overused, so cliché, that they become funny again through layers of irony.
It's that paradox of being so stale it's fresh.
Exactly. A meme becomes dank when it's self-aware of its own mimetic status. And this era birthed the meme economy. There's a subreddit, r/meme economy, where people literally treat memes like stocks.
I've seen that. It's bizarre.
Satire, but it's brilliant satire.
Yeah.
People post a new meme format and say, invest, buy now before it goes mainstream. Or, sell. This meme has been spotted on Facebook. The value's about to crash. It mimics real market speculation perfectly.
And visually, things got messy. We saw the rise of deep-fried memes.
Right. This is an aesthetic choice. It's where you take an image and you deliberately ruin it. You run it through so many filters and compression layers that it looks pixelated, yellow, washed out, and distorted. It's visual noise. It looks like a corrupted JPEG file from 1998.
The example in the notes is the E-meme. And I have to try to explain this to visualize it for the listener because it's pure chaos. It's the YouTuber Markiplier's face, photoshopped onto the head of Lord Farquaad from the movie Shrek, who is then photoshopped into Mark Zuckerberg's congressional hearing suit. And the caption, the entire punchline, is just the letter E.
It is absolute absurdity. It makes no sense. There is no logic to decode.
Why? Why was that funny? What is the joke?
Because it rejects meaning. It's a digital update to surrealism. It's daddyism for the 21st century. The world felt chaotic and nonsensical, so the humor became chaotic and nonsensical. They did surgery on a grape, is another one.
I remember that one.
Just a statement. But that nonsense provides a weird kind of escapism. It's a vacation from logic.
And then came the short-form video revolution. Vine gave us so many classics. What's 9 plus 10?
Cody, what?
You know it. And when Vine died, TikTok took the throne. Which brings us to the brain rot phenomenon. The outline mentions this, covering 2022 to 2026. This is Gen Alpha slang.
This is where the generational divide really opens up into a chasm. We're seeing terms like skibidi, rizz, got, sigma, phantom tax.
Okay, I'm going to need you to translate those. For the record, for those of us who are not 14. Laughs. All right. Rizz is short for charisma, your ability to attract a romantic partner. Gayet is an exclamation, usually referring to someone's physical attractiveness, specifically, their posterior curves.
Okay, got it.
Phantom tax refers to playfully stealing a bit of your friend's food, and it's named after a streamer named Phantom who would do that to his friends. And skibidi, well, that comes from the Skibidi toilet series on YouTube.
Don't tell me.
It's a surreal animation series about singing heads that pop out of toilets and fight against people with cameras and speakers for heads.
To an outsider, this looks like a complete breakdown of language. That's why it's called brain rot, I assume.
The term reflects a fear of low-quality, overstimulating content. It's usually attached to those TikTok videos with split screens. You've got Subway Surfers gameplay on the bottom, a Family Guy clip on top, flashing subtitles, and an AI voice reading a Reddit post. It is maximum stimulation designed to hold your attention for 15 seconds.
But is it actually rotting brains? Or is it just what old people have always said about new things? The research suggests it might be shortening attention spans. But sociologically, it's just the next evolution of in-group slang. Every generation has its nonsense words that confuse their parents. However, as of early 2026, we are seeing a backlash. The sources mention a meme drought in 2025.
A drought, like we ran out.
A feeling of creative stagnation, a reaction against slime talk, those weird non-interactive live streams, and a general distrust of AI-generated content. People felt like the internet was getting too weird and too corporate.
And that led to the great meme reset.
Yes, a grassroots movement. The call was to return to the classics. Starting January 1st, 2026, there was a huge movement to bring back the 2010s memes. 9cat, Big Chungus, Trollface, the original image macros.
People are nostalgic for
6 years ago.
It's the digital nostalgia cycle, and it's happening faster than ever before. We used to get nostalgic for things from 20 years ago. Now we're nostalgic for things from the pre-COVID era. The speed of culture is accelerating so much that history is last week.
It's moving so fast, and that speed isn't random. You're saying there is math behind this. Let's talk about the viral math. How do these things actually spread?
Yeah, this is fascinating. Epidemiologists, the people who study the spread of diseases, have actually applied their models to memes. They use what's called the SR model. SIR.
Susceptible, infectious, recovered. I remember this from health class.
Right. So imagine a meme is the flu. Susceptible. You haven't seen the meme yet. You are a blank slate. You are vulnerable to infection.
Okay.
Infectious. You see it, you laugh, and you hit share or retweet. You are now actively spreading the virus to your followers. And pretty. Recovered. We've seen it 10 times, 20 times. It's annoying now. You stop sharing. You might even block it. You are immune.
And once everyone in the population is recovered, the meme dies.
The data shows a very specific pattern that looks exactly like a disease outbreak. A massive sharp spike in popularity, followed by an equally sharp taper down to obscurity. It acts exactly like a new strain of the flu sweeping through a community.
But there's competition, right? My feed is only so long. I can't be infected by everything. There are hundreds of new memes every day.
That's the attention economy. Research by a scientist named Koshia at MIT showed that memes compete for survival in a limited ecosystem, your attention span. And here's the counterintuitive finding. Survival of the fittest doesn't always mean the biggest, most explosive spike.
Really? I would assume the biggest viral hit is the winner, the one that breaks the internet.
Not necessarily for longevity. A meme with a massive vertical spike, something everyone is talking about on Monday, usually dies young. It burns through the susceptible population too fast.
Everyone gets sick of it at the same time.
Exactly. It's a flash in the pan, everyone sees it, everyone shares it, and then by Tuesday, everyone is recovered and immune. The memes that live the longest, the ones that stick around for months or even years as usable formats, are the ones that coexist with others without dominating the conversation completely. They're the slow burns. They mutate just enough to stay relevant without overwhelming you.
That makes sense. The brightest flame burns half as long.
And we also have to talk about how communities affect this lifespan.
Sure.
There's a fantastic study by Kate Miltner on the lolcats we mentioned earlier. It started as a 4chan in-joke. It was edgy, it was weird, it was there.
Subculture.
Then it blew up. It became mainstream emotional support humor. Your grandma was sharing lolcats on Facebook. It was on coffee mugs and calendars.
And as soon as grandma shares it, it's over for the cool kids. It's not cool anymore.
Exactly. The original creators, the 4chan community, abandoned it. They actively started to mock it because it became too mainstream. It lost its subcultural value. This is the life cycle. Creation in the underground, explosion into the mainstream, abandonment by the creators, and eventually death, or as you said.
Zombie life on Facebook.
Zombie life on Facebook.
Yeah.
That is a terrifyingly accurate description.
So we've covered the history and the math, but memes aren't just staying on the internet. They are leaking into the real world in a big way. Let's look at memes in the wild.
This is where it gets really serious. Let's start with marketing. Brands are absolutely desperate to be part of the conversation. They call it mimetic marketing.
It's the how do you do fellow kids meme come to life, usually.
Often, yes. The cringe factor can be very high. It feels forced. But when it works beautifully. Look at the movie Snakes on a Plane.
A Samuel L. Jackson, an absolute classic of the genre.
That film became a cult classic before it was even released, purely because the internet decided the title was hilarious. The studio didn't start that. The fans did. The fans made posters, songs, trailers. They were creating the hype themselves. The studio just had to sit back and ride the wave.
So the best marketing is when you don't even have to do it yourself.
It's the holy grail. And then you have high fashion brands like Gucci.
That seemed like an odd fit.
You'd think so, but they actually commissioned artists to reimagine famous memes for their watch advertisements. They leaned into the aesthetic. It was polished, it was high art, but it understood the language. It didn't feel like they were trying to trick you. It felt like they were in on the joke.
But there's a massive risk, right? The Wendy's story comes to mind immediately.
Wendy's is the ultimate cautionary tale. They built this brand persona on Twitter of being sassy, roasting people, roasting their competitors, and it worked initially. Their profits went up 50% that year. They were the cool brand online.
I remember that. Their Twitter account was genuinely funny.
It was. But then, in a reply to someone, they tweeted a meme of Pepe the Frog, styled to look like their mascot, Wendy.
Ooh. Yeah, we need to talk about Pepe. That's a complicated one.
At that specific moment in time, in the U.S., Pepe had been heavily co-opted by white nationalist and alt-right groups. Wendy's social media manager might have just seen a funny frog meme, but the context had shifted dramatically. The backlash was immediate and fierce.
They deleted it pretty fast, as I recall.
Within minutes, the damage was done. It shows that memes are volatile. Their meaning can change overnight. If a brand doesn't do its homework on the current meaning of a meme, it can blow up in their face spectacularly.
Speaking of blowing up, let's talk about money. Real money. Meme stocks.
This is a phenomenon that really took off in the early 2020s, especially during the pandemic lockdowns. A meme stock is when a company's stock value is driven almost entirely by online hype and social media attention, not by its business fundamentals. GameStop is the patient zero here.
Power to the players. I remember this vividly. It was absolute chaos on Wall Street.
It was driven by the subreddit are Wall Street bets and commission-free trading platforms like Robinhood. You had a new class of retail investors. They call themselves YOLO investors. You only live once.
Right.
They weren't looking at price-to-earnings ratios. They were looking at vibes.
Yeah.
And they were looking at sticking it to the hedge funds.
That was the core of it, wasn't it? It was a populist movement.
Exactly. The hedge funds had bet that GameStop, a brick-and-mortar video game store, would fail. They shorted the stock. The internet realized that if they all banded together and bought the stock, the price would go up, and the hedge funds would be forced to buy it back at a higher price, losing billions of dollars.
It was financial warfare disguised as a joke.
And it worked. I mean, for a time, the stock price went to the moon. It was completely disconnected from the company's actual value, but it didn't matter. It blurred the line between a meme and a financial instrument.
And nowhere is that blurrier than in crypto. Dogecoin?
The Shiba Inu dog. Wow. Such currency.
It started as a literal joke.
It was created to mock cryptocurrency. The creator said, "This is silly, we made this in a few hours." And yet, at its peak, fueled by tweets from figures like Elon Musk, it had a market capitalization in the tens of billions of dollars. People became millionaires off a meme coin.
What does that say about our concept of value?
It challenges our fundamental understanding of economics. It suggests that if enough people believe a joke is worth money, then it is. Value is just a shared belief system. Memes coordinate that belief faster and more powerfully than anything else in history.
That is mind-bending. But if memes can move money, they can definitely move votes.
Let's talk politics. Memes are the modern political cartoon. They have democratized propaganda. In the past, you needed a printing press or a TV advertising slot to smear your opponent. Now you just need a laptop and a dark sense of humor.
I remember the Dean scream. Howard Dean back in 2004.
That was an early example, an awkward, enthusiastic moment caught on Mike Yeehaw that got remixed and replayed until it completely destroyed his image of presidential composure. It killed his momentum. But by 2016, it was fully weaponized.
The Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer meme.
It sounds ridiculous to say it out loud.
It does. It's objectively false. But that meme persisted for months.
It didn't matter that it was factually impossible. Cruz was a child when the Zodiac killings happened. The facts were irrelevant. The meme painted him as creepy, secretive, and untrustworthy. It damaged his campaign because it's stuck in people's minds. You can't fact-check a vibe. You can't debunk a joke.
And then you have politicians trying to get in on it, like Michael Bloomberg trying to buy memes.
Yeah, that was a fascinating and largely failed experiment. In 2020, the Bloomberg campaign sponsored huge Instagram accounts with 60 million collective followers to post memes about him.
How did that go over?
It felt transactional.
Yeah.
It felt like big money trying to buy cool. And the internet generally rejects that. You can't buy authenticity. You can't buy dankness. It has to emerge organically.
Now, we touched on Pepe the Frog earlier with the Wendy's incident, but the Pepe story is actually much more fascinating because of how split it is globally.
It is the perfect example of the dual nature of symbols. We have to be neutral here and just report on how it was used. Yeah. In the U.S., during the 2016 election cycle, Pepe became a symbol heavily associated with the alt-right. The Anti-Defamation League even listed him as a hate symbol in that context.
Right, it became very toxic in the U.S.
But simultaneously, he was being used on the other side of the world for a completely different purpose.
This part of the research blew my mind.
In 2019 and 2020, Pepe was used as a pro-democracy symbol by protesters in Hong Kong.
Wait, really? The same frog?
The very same frog. In Hong Kong, he was seen as representing the everyman, the sad, downtrodden youth fighting against an authoritarian system. Yeah. Protesters held signs of Pepe crying. They drew him wearing a yellow construction helmet, the uniform of the protests. It proves that a meme has no inherent fixed meaning. It is an empty vessel that different communities fill with their own intent.
That is a powerful idea. It's not just jokes and politics, though. The research points out that memes have actually done some real good for the world, right?
Absolutely. Think of the ice bucket challenge.
Oh, yeah. I did that. I got a bucket of ice water dumped on my head.
And you probably donated, or at least you learned about ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. That was a meme. It was a viral challenge that raised over $100 million for medical research. It had a tangible, positive impact.
And the It Gets Better project.
A hugely important movement for LGBTQ plus empowerment, using video testimonials to spread a message of hope. And the notes also mentioned COVID-19 awareness in Nigeria.
How did they use memes for that?
While parts of the West were sometimes struggling with complex scientific messaging and misinformation, public healthcare professionals in Nigeria used popular local meme formats to explain infection prevention, hand washing, and vaccine information. They used the language people were already speaking on their phones to save lives. It shows that this virus of the mind can actually carry a cure.
So we've established that memes are powerful, profitable, and pervasive. But who owns them? If I make a meme and it goes viral and ends up on a t-shirt, do I get paid?
Ah, the copyright dilemma. This is the Wild West of legal theory. It's a huge mess.
Because memes rely on stealing, right? I take a screenshot of a movie, I add text, I don't own the rights to that movie.
The legal term is appropriation, and the primary defense, in the U.S. at least, is fair use.
Which is a very fuzzy concept.
Very fuzzy. Fair use depends on 4 factors. First, the purpose. Is it transformative? Memes usually are you're creating a new meaning, a common area parody. Second, the nature of the original work. Third, the amount you used. Memes usually use just a single frame or a short clip. And fourth, the effect on the market for the original.
Meaning, does my meme of a scene from the Avengers stop people from buying tickets to see the movie?
Exactly. And usually the answer is no. In fact, it might be the opposite. It's free advertising. So generally, non-commercial memes are protected, but not always. There was a case where Getty Images, the stock photo company, demanded payment from a blog for using this socially awkward penguin meme.
Because the original penguin photo belonged to a National Geographic photographer and Getty managed the rights?
Correct. The photographer didn't care that it was a meme. They saw a copyright violation. But more recently, we've seen a fascinating shift where the subjects of memes are reclaiming ownership through NFTs.
Non-fungible tokens. The Disaster Girl story is just wild.
It's incredible. Zoe Roth. She was a little girl with a devilish smile standing in front of a real house fire back in 2005. Her dad took the photo.
And it became the face of enjoying chaos.
Exactly, the face of Schadenfreude. Yeah, that photo was used millions of times globally. She never saw a dime. She was just this face that everyone knew.
Until the NFT.
Right. In 2021, she and her father sold the original digital file as an NFT for nearly $540,000 to a collector. It was a way to finally take control of the narrative and monetize her own viral fame. It sets a precedent that maybe, just maybe, you can own a moment in internet culture.
Okay, let's try to unpack this whole journey. We started with the distorted cartoon, and we ended up with $500,000 tokens and Nigerian public health campaigns.
It is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But if I had to synthesize it all, I'd say this. Memes are the vernacular of the digital age. They are how we process reality now. When something terrible happens in the world, the first thing we do is make memes to cope. When something great happens, we make memes to celebrate.
They're our collective emotional response system.
They are the artifacts of our collective consciousness, recorded in real time.
They are more than just digital junk. They are a financial instrument, a political tool, and a complex form of communication.
Exactly. And they are evolving faster than we can study them. The moment an academic paper on a meme is published, it's already ancient history.
So here's the question for you, the listener. The next time you are scrolling and you see that distorted image and you laugh and you hit share, ask yourself, are you just sharing a joke? Or are you participating in a global experiment in cultural evolution?
You are a carrier. You are part of the transmission chain, whether you like it or not.
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought based on what we've discussed. We mentioned the meme drought and the great reset of 2026, this idea that we are just recycling 2010s memes because modern culture is brain rot.
It raises a pretty profound question. Have we reached peak meme?
Exactly. Are we running out of new cultural genes? And if we are just remixing the remixes of the remixes, what does that say about our creativity as a species? Are we innovating? Or are we just stuck in a cultural loop feeding on our own past?
That is a thought worth chewing on.
On that note, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you in the next feed.
Keep scrolling.